So, unless you truly are living on an island, an awareness island, disconnected from life here on planet Earth, then you are aware that there was a bombing yesterday. I am not going to devolve into the right or wrongness of that decision. I'm not even going to talk about the parties involved in making that decision, because none of that actually matters in the scheme of things. What I am going to talk about is consciousness and how we use it. Because there's one consciousness, this is what we teach, one consciousness, one substance that is the source of everything. And then there is the consciousness that psychology talks about in terms of states of awareness, right? And so we use consciousness in very different states of consciousness. Yes? Right? And it's been really interesting. As much as I myself ridicule Facebook from time to time, I find that it is quite informative about what is happening in the use of consciousness by humanity. And within one Facebook post, I saw a range of belief systems that was quite profound. The post started, and yes, this is paraphrased, and you have an imagination, you can imagine what the actual post says. But the paraphrase is, fighting for peace is like having intercourse for virginity. And I was like, hadn't thought about it that way, but they're not wrong. Right? And then somebody posted in response to that, if you are not capable of destruction, you can't be peaceful. You are not peaceful, you are harmless. And I was struck by the divergence of those two statements. And as I sat with it, and thank you, creation, for this all happening as lightning bugs are returning. Because I immediately went outside on my deck and just hung out with the lightning bugs. Because lightning bugs remind me of the magic of creation. And while it delights the little childhood part of me, there's so much more going on with these tiny little bugs that fly around and light up. Right? It looks like just lightning bugs, right? But within lightning bugs is a whole complex structure of those lights are communication for their breeding. It's a breeding dance. And while you think you're just looking at one signal, there are literally hundreds of different patterns that are being lit up by lightning bugs so that they attract the right subvariant of their species. Now, I don't know about you, but just talking about that gives me goosebumps because of the complexity and beauty and magic of creation expressing itself. It's something as simple and tiny yet tremendously complex lightning bug. Right? So if something that appears that simple can be so complex, Are we so delusional as to think that something called politics or something called peace or something called war can have such a simple, cut and dried, black and white binary answer? Really? There is nothing happening in creation that is that simple. Nothing. And I submit to you that our desire for it to be that simple, our demand for it to be that simple, our self-righteousness that it's that simple and we know which one is right. Maybe it's just me. Is not about what we think is right. It's about what terrifies us. And our need to be right somehow feels powerful. Today we're wrapping up the 6th tradition. And it's not lost on me that this fits right in. Right? Our overall annual theme is first thing first. And today it's remaining undivided, which assumes that we are undivided. You can't remain something you ain't. Right? Remaining undivided. What makes us feel undivided is our thoughts. Is our thoughts of separation. Right? It's a sense of being undivided. You, me, we can't be undivided if we wanted to. We can't. There's one thing that's everywhere present. Where are you going to separate to? Where you ain't. Bye, honey. I mean, that's the reality. In one, if one is all there is, separation, the actuality of separation would destroy a fundamental reality of one. Because now there would be two. And you could never again return to one. There's one quantum field. Science hasn't found a secondary quantum field. Right? There's one source, one substance. We can call it energy, we can call it God, call it mashed potatoes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change that it is. And our challenge is letting go of trying to define what it is. And it's to be with the uncertainty that it just is. Right? Our primary purpose, what is that? Because if we don't know what our primary purpose is, how the heck do we know if we're diverted from it? Just saying. If we don't have an anchor, if I don't have a GPS point of origin, if you will, how do I know where I'm at? Right? Tradition 6, if we rewrite it for us, might say Columbia/Greater Baltimore Center for Spiritual Living ought never endorse, finance, or lend its name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. There's a lot there. So if we extrapolate that to government, right? If we put the United States of America ought never endorse, finance, or lend its name or to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. If our country lived by that, yesterday would never have happened. It wouldn't even be a conversation. Now, I can't tell you that that's a correct path for a country. I can't, because I don't know. What I observe, and this is what I invite you to do with this stuff. Stop stomping your foot and pounding your fists about what you know, and just explore what else is here. Right? Because that's not knowing, that's fear. What are you afraid to know? What are you afraid to even consider? Right? Because if you've got yourself polarized to your side and their side, I submit to you that whatever you have decided is their side, you're scared to even consider. Doesn't mean you have to agree, but it won't hurt you to consider. Is there a grain of truth? Just a grain of truth. Deborah and I were talking out on the deck while we were watching lightning bugs. And what I notice is that we are a country founded on escaping tyranny. And if I follow that thought process through in an examination through the lens of science of mind, it begins to become really clear to me why we became a country of tyranny. Because we became the thing we escaped, because that is what's operating in our consciousness, not freedom, but escape from tyranny. And so tyranny, the belief in tyranny, the operation of tyranny is the core thing that's operating, and of course we became it. It's odd to me to hear someone talk about blowing up something in a country of bullies, and if they don't surrender, we will do more damage, while we call them a bully. Okay? I don't get it. I don't get it. And I don't have to get it. But what I get to do is examine where the human me fits into it. I get to examine the ridiculousness of my thought processes. Right? Because some of our thought processes around all this might just be ridiculous. I'll be vulnerable. I'll share my silly thought. I'm upstairs getting ready, drying off from the shower, and my brain says, dude, if we're at war and they're going to blow things up, you need to get your stuff together and clean out all the stuff you don't want. And I heard that, and I'm like, really? I need to get rid of excess stuff so that nobody notices when my stuff is all blown up that there was too much of it? Right? Well, it's a completely ridiculous thought. Completely ridiculous. And perhaps that's what defense does. That's what defensiveness does. Defensiveness, if you feel yourself being defensive, know that you are having a normal, human, predictable, healthy response to stress. It's a built-in brilliance of our physiology that quite literally you can't control. Denial is not lying. Lying means you're aware of it and you're lying about it. That's not denial. Denial is literally predictable. If somebody, even if we give a hypothetical, right? If I were to say something blah, 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 horrible, your first word in your mind would be no. That is your innate, inborn defense mechanism designed to protect us. Because there really is such a thing called psychogenic shock, and you literally can be scared to death. And so we have this brilliant system that shuts everything down and then allows us to become aware as we're able to handle it. It's just a brilliant physiological system. So if you find yourself in denial, thank your body for loving you enough, and then consider that within you is the capacity to face everything your body's telling you you can't face. That within you is the capacity to know all of those thoughts that your biology is telling you you're not ready to know. And to sit with them. I am very clear in my understanding that property, money, property, and prestige have absolutely diverted us as a nation from our primary purpose of peace. Doesn't mean peace isn't possible. And I consider, is peace really the absence of something? Is peace the absence of violence? I don't think so. Because I am often in spaces where violence isn't happening, and I'm not all that peaceful. Right? If peace were the absence of the storm, would we even have the biblical reference to be still and know? Doesn't say, wait till the storm passes and then you'll be at peace. That's not what it says. It's telling us to be peace in the middle of the storm. To be peace. You know, it's kind of like that place where people that have money are typically the ones that say you can't buy happiness, and the rest of us are going to kind of like a chance to try. It's the perspective thing, right? What I want you to understand, what I want you to take away from today is that you are created out of peace. And so you have to have the capacity to be what you are in the midst of wherever you are. See, where we are doesn't change what we are. And we have to stop allowing outside things delude us from what we are. You are an intentional, on purpose, erasable, one-of-a-kind idea of creation to experience itself as your life. You're not separate from it. You're an individualization of a desire of it. You are it, experiencing life as you. It is you experiencing life as every expression of it. We talk about creation is diverse. No, it's not. It is diversity. Right? It's not a thing that is diverse. It is the diversity because it is every expression. Taking us full circle back to David Bohm, right? Where we turn adjectives and verbs and adverbs into nouns. Right? Instead of saying this one thing is omnipotent, it is omnipotence. It is the thing. It's not peaceful. It is peace. And so rather than looking for peace as the absence of something, get really clear that peace is the presence of what you're made of. And so you are never not peace. And the only thing that makes us not experience the truth of our being is this 20-pound bowling ball on top of our shoulders that lies to us. It's really that simple. It lies. The brain lies. It's not on purpose. It's not, there's nothing devious in there that has, some big nasty intention. But it lies because it's constantly feeding us conditioned information that isn't accurate. It isn't all there is. Right? We need language to communicate. And I invite you to understand that our language is limited. And we can never fully talk about the truth of creation with human language. That's the whole thing of having that personal, silent relationship. Right? Because the minute we start talking about it, we diminish it. Not on purpose, but we do. Right? If you have ever had one of those ecstatic spiritual experiences, and then you try to share it with somebody, right? It's a constant, well, it's kind of like da-da-da-da-da. But no, that doesn't really get it. It was kind of like, right? And I'm going to wrap up with this. Take that full circle to how Jesus taught. To how Jesus answered questions. He's demonstrating that over and over again because he only ever responded in parables. He never told anybody what to do. He just constantly said, it's like this. And then it's like this. And if that doesn't work for you, think about it like this. Because that's the limitation of language. Doesn't mean we don't share with each other. But it does mean we acknowledge that your spiritual experience is yours. It's never going to be somebody else's. You can share about it. I can't share my spiritual experience with you. I can share about my spiritual experience with you. But there is no way for me, I can share my sandals with you. I can take them off and give them to you. I can't take out my spiritual experience and give it to you. I can't be peace for you. I can't even teach you to be peaceful because I can't teach you to be something you already are. That doesn't even make sense. Right? But what I can do, what we can do for and with one another, is be vulnerable and courageous enough to be truthful with each other. And when one of us is spewing hatred and calling it peace, we get to say, I'm not experiencing this as peaceful. I'm experiencing your words and your energy as hatred. Is that what you mean? Use I statements to share your experience and ask them if that's what they mean. They may have no awareness that that's how they're showing up. And trust me when I tell you, it's way more powerful to own your experience and ask them if that's the energy they mean to be presenting than to say, man, you just mean today. Conversation over. Because you have judged them, assessed them, categorized them, labeled them, dismissed them, and made yourself right in the process. That was quick, huh? Right? Own your experience. Share what's happening for you. And then invite one another to take a look at themselves. It will never be your job to change anybody other than you. Right? The Mary Oliver poem. I finally focused on the life I can save. Right? God grant me the serenity to accept the thing I cannot change. The courage to change the one I can. And the wisdom to know it's me. A whole different way to think about it. You change you. And in the truth of one consciousness, and this is the power of what we teach, when we individually change how we use consciousness, we heal consciousness, not the essence of consciousness, but we heal the use of consciousness. Right? When you use consciousness in alignment with spiritual principle, we heal the use of consciousness, which means we heal the vibration that we're all living in. That's the power you have. If you stop trying to change other people, if you stop condemning other people, which, by the way, you can't condemn someone else without condemning you, because there's only one of us here. See, that's a lie of duality, that I can actually condemn you and I can be self-righteous. No, you can't. It's just not true. I am available. The practitioners are available. We're not here to tell you what to think, but we're here to listen. And we're here to pray with you. And there are people in this room who are directly impacted by what happened. There are naval families in this room whose loved ones are on ships being moved in position. We're not separate, folks. We're not. And it doesn't even matter who that is. What matters is that we wake up and live in awareness of what is. Not what is bad, but what is true. If you want peace, be what you are. Be peace. Be peace in your thoughts. Be peace in your language. Be peace in your relationships. Be peace. It's not going to come from outside of you. It's going to come from inside of you. So let's close with that serenity prayer differently than you're used to saying it. We'll just do it as a call and response. Grant me this serenity to accept the things I cannot change. The courage to change the thing I can. And the wisdom to know it's me. And so it is.